Kieran just popped a blood vessel, and this is the Generally Spooky podcast.
Yes, it is. And we're here with breaking news.
Breaking news?
It's just an unscheduled episode, so it couldn't wait, because today is Halloween.
It is Halloween. Not right now, but it will be when you're listening. This is Halloween.
Go on.
I'm not even drunk. That's the scary thing.
That's just how Eilidh is. That's what I live with, folks.
We're here with your stories.
Yes, we wanted to do something special for Halloween.
Yes.
Because it's spooky season.
Yes.
And we're recording this the day before Halloween. All Hallows Eve.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as special as Christmas Eve, but it's exciting. We have your ghost stories to read.
Yeah, we've been gathering them up for quite a while. And it finally seemed like the right time.
Seems like the time.
To bring them to you.
I think it was last Christmas.
Yeah, we released a couple of special episodes at Christmas and New Year last year.
Or maybe New Year.
Because I think we did one for each.
Yep.
Because we were spending time with family, so we weren't releasing content.
All about that content.
Yeah, but here we are again.
Yes, we are.
This was supposed to be after season 4, but we have an extra episode in season 4, so we're still working on it, so we're very tired.
Yes. Yeah, we had it all set up to finish season 4, and we're like, surprise, extra episode. Instead it's, okay, we're not quite finished, but surprise, extra episode.
Bet you weren't expecting an episode on a Monday.
It's Monday. Ooh, for us it's Sunday. We never record on a Sunday.
I know. I don't even know if I like releasing an episode on a Monday.
I know. It's a bit weird. It's a bit out there.
Shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay, Kieran's going to start.
Yes, let's just dive straight in.
And we're starting with a couple of stories from Instagram that people have sent. The others come from emails that you guys have sent into us, giving us your ghost stories. If you would like to be featured in our next Listener Stories episode, then email your ghost story to generallyspooky@gmail.com, or you can send it over Instagram like these lovely people have done.
These wonderful grammars.
Because we love doing these.
Yeah, it's really fun.
They're super fun, but we can't do them without you. So if you like them, you send in your scary stories. And they don't have to be ghost related. It could just be a creepy...
Just something spooky.
Yeah, spooky, creepy.
A little something spooky.
Halloweeny. Okay, so Kieran doesn't run the Instagram, so this is new to him. But this submitter would like to rename... This submission would like to be... This person would like to stay anonymous. I've had to record that 3 times. All I've had is a smoothie. I haven't even had a glass of wine. I have had a glass of wine.
Oh,
that was hours ago.
Oh no, Eilidh was day drinking.
Only a little bit.
At a situationally opportune moment.
Yes, I was at a wedding fair and they were giving away free glasses of wine.
I didn't realise this was a screenshot and not Instagram. I was trying to scroll and it wasn't working. I'm like, what is this?
I told you I was taking screenshots of them.
You did.
So you can't hack the Instagram. I don't trust you.
So, as Eilidh said, this is from an anonymous submitter who listens to the podcast. Thank you very much for submitting, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. Hi, I am presenting a ghost story of mine. It isn't scary, but definitely weird, and I would like to be anonymous. So I used to live in an old farmhouse 100 years old or so, and we found some meat hooks in the attic. And if ever we ate anything to do with pigs, all we would hear was a horrible squealing, the type a pig made. So we did a little experiment and ate a bacon sandwich and waited for the squealing, and it came from the room with the meat hooks, as if it was being prepared for something. Anyway, that's the end of the story, and thank you for reading this far, and keep up with the great jokes, Kieran. Oh, thank you.
And that's why I let you read out that one.
That is very weird and creepy.
It's creepy, isn't it?
Just finding meat hooks would have been creepy enough.
Well, to me, I don't watch scary movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have the podcast, apparently. Based all around creepy things. I don't like scary movies.
Scratches that itch audibly instead of visibly.
Yeah. But to me, that sounds like one of the Halloween movies. You know, like crazy killer meat hooks.
Big meat hook.
Coming after you.
Thunk.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Even just to find them situationally, not in an old butcher's.
Mm-hmm. But I guess if it's an old farmhouse, it does make sense.
Yeah, there's more likely to find them. But phantom pig squealing, that's pretty weird.
A very unsettling noise.
Yeah. And it's so non-consequential, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, like, nobody's playing... Well, I don't know.
It wasn't a trick question. I'm just wondering what you mean. Well, do you mean like it's not someone like screaming as they're being murdered or calling for their lost lover?
Yeah, there's not someone trying to haunt you. There's just a pig being butchered, apparently, while still alive. And then just... Oh, I suppose there's all these pigs crying for their dead relatives, maybe.
What if it's a demon?
Pretending to be a pig? Or that's a demon sound?
Maybe it's a demon sound.
Maybe it's a demon sound. A pork-based demon.
Glazed pork demon.
Maybe it haunts people who don't eat pork.
But surely it would haunt the people that do eat pork.
I mean, they would deserve it more if it was a haunted pig, wouldn't they?
Because that's what we was doing in the story.
Yes. Yeah, they were just being chastised for eating pork.
Yeah. Don't eat my family.
No. Very spooky. Should we rate it out of 17 coffins?
Yeah, we discussed beforehand. I think we're going to have a 17 coffins rating system. So we'll each rate it, or do we have to agree on one between us?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess we could each rate it. I'm going 14 out of 17.
Yeah?
I like that. That was a good spooky story.
I'm going 10 out of 17, but only because I don't have any answers. And that bothers me personally.
That's fair. Maybe I've gone 14 because I got complimented.
Maybe. 17 out of 17.
This person's clearly amazing and has great insight and wisdom. None shall argue with that. Thank you very much, Anonymous.
Yes, thank you, Anonymous. You know who you are, and hopefully you're listening so you could hear us read your story. Okay, our next story is a little bit longer. It's also from Instagram, and it's from a listener called Helva. So thank you, Helva. Thank you for writing in.
Thank you, Helva.
I used to be in the military and can say the only place I ever experienced anything was when I was stationed in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Ooh.
And this was during the Bay of Pigs invasion.
What's that?
The Bay of Pigs invasion begins... Well done, Helva. When a CIA-financed and trained group of Cuban refugees lands in Cuba and attempts to topple the communist government of Fidel Castro. The attack was an utter failure. Fidel Castro had been a concern to US policymakers since he seized power in Cuba with a revolution in January of 1959. Tunnels were dug underground to hide refugees and landmines were placed everywhere and still being found till today. I was military police and we had access to all areas of base, so we would find these tunnels and abandoned houses through the undergrowth and on cliffs. They were deep, dark, and although we were equipped with weapons, it still made me feel uneasy.
Whoa.
You had to bend over to walk through because dirt had come in through the years and trash washed in from storms and floods. Some tunnels branched off, others blocked completely. People had graffiti everywhere, and the tunnel we found and entered had a large demon drawn on the wall. As we entered, I had one officer behind me and one in front. As we inched our way through, we came to another tunnel. The officer in front of me went right, I went left, and thought the officer behind me followed. So I forgot to mention that this little expedition had been planned at night due to us not worrying about being seen. Or due to us worrying about being seen, I'd imagine. We were the police, but some places were still kept off limits for reasons that were not disclosed to us. And that usually meant that many people died there and it may still contain human remains, left behind from possible desecration. We were not there to do anything but cure, you could say, a morbid sense of fascination for what could be down there. I honestly was more scared of finding tarantulas or a poisonous snake than anything.
Oh, didn't even consider that's a factor.
That would be me. So as we progressed further, it was about 40 feet till that first T section. Once we split and I continued down the left tunnel, and honestly thinking my partner was still behind me, I continued. I heard shuffling behind me, so why would I think any different? As I went about 15 more feet, I saw the graffiti drawing of a demon and something written in Spanish which I did not understand, except for one word, muerto. Muerto is Spanish for death. That much I did know. I turned a corner and saw that it was blocked and we could not go any further. I started to say that we had to turn around because my partner could not see around the corner since it was such tight quarters in there. Once I said that, I heard something behind the branches and trash that blocked the way. I tried to get closer but was starting to feel a little uncomfortable. I think this would be a good time to turn back, I said. I then realised how quiet it really was in there. I stood there for a minute and over my shoulder, almost in my ear, I heard a whisper. Don't turn around. My first thought was it was my partner playing a joke, so of course I turned around. The hall was completely empty. There was no one there. I was definitely confused, knowing I heard a voice. I started walking back, meeting up with the other two, finding out she had followed him down the right tunnel. She was never behind me to begin with.
Very spooky.
There's more. The shuffling, the voice, it could not have been her. I told them what happened and they said they had heard noises as well and thought they heard me talking and turned back to find me.
Ooh.
As we stood there, we heard movement in the tunnel that I came from. I knew it was blocked and no one could have come through the other way. Plus, I was just down there, so I knew there were no animals that could be making the noises. The next sound I can only describe as a deep breath like an exhale was heard, but nothing I can explain could have made that noise. At that point, I was ready to get out of there. We left and did not return the 1.5 years I was there. I later found out that there had been people killed and bodies were put in there left to rot. I have no idea what we experienced, but it was nothing I can explain or think anyone can. I still wonder why the voice I heard said what it did. Being that this area has seen lots of death and despair, there are other stories of hauntings too. A spirit climbs watchtowers and we can hear the individuals, which are United States Marines, who are the guards in these posts, calling in and asking who is on their tower steps. They hear footsteps and want to know if someone's playing games.
Creepy.
It's so creepy. They protect the borders of our base from Cuba, so the towers outline the edge of the base, at night kept in complete darkness, and no one is supposed to be around without radioing in. They're also armed and not scared of what's around them. But when there is something unseen, unexplained happening, something you can't protect yourself from, that is the time to be scared. Unfortunately, we had a Marine shoot himself just to not have to stand these posts. It is widely known that the base in Cuba has strange happenings and that these posts have unexplained phenomenon happening. I've heard stories right from the Marines who have experienced seeing metal doors on abandoned buildings being hit from the inside with such force that the entire door becomes bent. Yet there's nothing inside the building and no one strong enough to have done that. Sounds of groans, screaming, and children crying heard in the dead of night by the rivers where it is known that refugees had drowned. We even have the spirit of a woman who drowned while diving being spotted on the cliffs where she died. When you hear the Marines talking about situations scaring them, refusing to go to certain areas because of the things occurring there, you know you have something not of this world happening. I've been many places around the world and, as I said before, visited what many claim to be the most haunted, but I have not seen or heard anything that could not be explained. This base in Cuba is the one place that had me questioning if there is something out there. I believe that this base has done that for many people.
Dang. That's some spooking right there.
Right.
That is some Halloween grade spooking.
Right. Thank you, Helva.
Yeah. The day, not the franchise.
No, this wasn't Mike Myers. Far creepier, in my opinion.
Well, there's a lot to digest there. What an interesting story. Thank you.
So long. You took so long to send that to us. So
thank you very much. I feel it will have to be especially spooky to spook a Marine.
I think so, because they're not going to take things lightly.
No, and I would think they've been trained to be aware of regular sounds and people and to not just kind of give in to their senses and give in to their fear for no reason. Well,
I think it's part of the training. I think you get it as a Marine, but also in like the CIA and things like that.
Yeah.
You get trained how to take in your surroundings so that you know everything that's happening around you all of the time.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
That you get trained, I think it's in the CIA, on how to assess an environment. So you go into a place and you know where the exits are. You know who's around you. You know what they're wearing. It's the type of person, they go into the cafe and they know all the number plates on the cars outside.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's very cool.
So I feel like a Marine would get the same.
Yeah. So for them to get spooked, especially to the point of suicide, that's horrendous.
I wonder if other things were going on there. I'm not sure.
Possibly.
But very creepy.
Very creepy.
And I just wouldn't like to be in an underground tunnel.
No, an underground tunnel that's possibly once housed dead bodies.
Yep, no thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
But we've talked before about places you would expect to be haunted, where such tragedies have occurred. So I feel this is definitely one of those places.
Oh yeah, I would 100% believe Guantanamo Bay is haunted.
Yeah, like if anywhere was going to be haunted, it's going to be there and the surrounding area. So what do you think was behind her in this tunnel?
Whatever it was, I don't think it's anything good. I feel like it would be really bad vibes in a place like that, just because of the suffering. So I don't think it's anything good.
No.
If anything is still there, I don't think it's a good thing. Even if it doesn't mean harm.
It's not good.
If that makes sense.
Can you imagine seeing the blood drain out of Helva's face as she turns around to talk to her pal, and then there's just nobody there?
Boy, I've been there.
Well, that's true, actually, yeah.
I thought you whispered in my ear in a haunted graveyard, and you didn't.
Yeah, that time I was there, but it wasn't me. So you know exactly.
I've had the blood drain out of my face.
You know exactly what it's like.
You don't, because you still don't believe me. But
I believe you heard something.
You don't believe me.
I just don't believe you enough. It's a rift in our marriage.
It will never recover. The other is that Kieran won't get me a second dog.
That is the second half. That's the other rift. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
If we reach 10,000 patrons, you have to.
I did publicly agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
I did. That was my fault. Superb. Helva, thank you very much.
17 out of 17 coffins for me.
For me as well. I hate to just, blow the full thing right away.
Game recognises game. That is 17 coffins worth of listener story.
Superb. Thank you very much.
Next. This one, there's not really a story, it's a spooky photo.
Ooh.
Which I thought would be interesting.
Yep.
I will ask, Fiona sent us this. She's at Cheesy Sheep on Instagram. She sent us this, and I will ask her permission before we share it anywhere. But she sent us a spooky photo.
So the message from the lovely Fiona is, hey, do you guys know much about the People's Abandoned Railway Tunnel? I took this photo a few years ago walking through it. It still gives me chills. If you zoom up into the green splodge, you can see something there. I don't know anything about the People's Abandoned Railway.
Neither do I. I want to look into it, either for a main episode or a mini episode.
Yeah.
It seems intriguing.
Colour me intrigued.
But with it is a spooky photo with a spooky green splodge.
There is. There's a view straight down a tunnel, light at the end, as there is at the end of tunnels.
Do you think anyone else stumbled onto that?
Yeah, you know. But there's a weird little green puddle reflection thing with a very Ghostbusters-esque ghost in it.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the things I was going to say is that it reminds me of the green ghost from Ghostbusters.
It does.
The original movie.
Uh-huh.
It looks a lot like that.
The one from right near the beginning that's in the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember its name. It has a name.
Does it?
I think so.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, that ghost, it looks a bit like that.
Yeah. Very strange. To me, it looks like maybe an oily puddle, and it's reflecting the light. But because of the angle, it's changing its colour. But regardless, it's pretty spooky.
What do you think about railway tunnels being haunted, generally?
I could see old ones being haunted, because I feel they weren't as very safe for workers.
Well, that, or what about the ones that were used for air raid shelters?
Oh, that as well. Didn't even think about that.
Because what if it wasn't a traditional haunting? What if it was a repeat of traumatic events that happened? So you have people down there during an air raid. Maybe that just repeats itself.
Yeah, there's just that much emotion has charged the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Okie dokie.
That's weird. I do like a weird photo.
It's going to be you intrigued for a while now.
That does have me intrigued. You've got me intrigued, Fiona.
See, because when you look at it properly, it kind of looks like a lantern. Like, it's kind of rectangular shaped.
Oh, yeah.
Like an old-fashioned lantern. But I don't think it's at the right angle or the right height.
Yeah.
I'm going to rate it 8.5 coffins out of 17. Because I am completely in the middle about what it is. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that is nicely in the middle, isn't it? I'm going to go 7 coffins. Appreciate seeing it. Doesn't compel me as a ghost. But thank you very much for sending it in.
Personally, as a ghost, this doesn't compel me.
That's the real twist. I was a ghost this whole time.
Shall we read some emails?
Yes.
Kieran is going to do some lovely reading for us.
So this is not really a ghost story, but perhaps more paranormal.
Ooh.
This is from Sean in Montana.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you very much.
I hope you like Montana.
Oh, all the way in Montana. Very cool. It goes like this. When my grandfather passed away, it literally tore my world apart.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. I've had a similar thing. It's horrible.
We were very close, and he was the first family member I had lost, so it was extremely hard. Well, the first of 2 experiences happened the day of his funeral. We were at my grandparents' house getting ready. My grandma, mum, sisters, and other family members were all in the bathrooms and rooms getting ready. I was dressed and ready, and I was standing in the kitchen, just sad, leaning against the wall, staring out the front window of the living room like a zombie, still processing the pain and different questions and thoughts many go through at a time like this.
You know, it's a really weird time when you're waiting for a funeral to start.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on the day, and you're ready, and you're just kind of waiting to go. It's a horrible little couple hours.
I was going to say just that dead time, but sort of,
No, that's the funeral.
that's not the best phrase for that.
But you know, it's a strange time.
Yeah, everyone knows it.
It's like you're preparing to be sad.
Yeah, but you don't want to use your sadness up beforehand.
Or you're trying to like keep it in.
Yeah, it's very strange. Out of nowhere, a ball of light about the size of a golf ball shot through the living room window I was staring at, and it was moving. It flew right past my cheek, literally centimetres from my face, and I reacted by turning my head to see it shoot out the back window in the kitchen. Never had an experience like this before, haven't since. Basically, it set me at ease thinking it was my grandpa saying hello, and that actually helped me cope that day. That's very strange.
Wow.
But wait, now it gets crazy.
Oh my God, Sean. Sean. You have me on the hook, Sean. I need to hear the rest.
About a week later, I had to have my vehicle towed into the city to the shop to be fixed. I lived about 10 miles out of the city in a smaller town. My mum's husband towed me in that morning around 6 a.m. Well, this is early December in Montana, so it's cold out. Minus 15 degrees to be exact.
Oh.
Fahrenheit or Celsius, not given, but cold regardless.
Kieran needs to know. That's going to niggle in his head forever. He's a scientist. He needs units.
I need units.
But don't worry about it, Sean. Between you and me, it's fine.
Well, I had no power whatsoever in my truck. Wouldn't start, wouldn't even turn over as the battery was disconnected, so absolutely nothing. I had to scrape the thick frost off the windshield before we left. Well, we get to the highway and my windshield starts to frost over again. I'm starting to panic now as I had to roll down my window to stick my head out to see.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Obviously can't do that because within seconds my face is close to frostbite and I can't take it.
And someone might take your head off, Sean.
I'm waving frantically trying to get him to pull over, but he doesn't see me. My head literally feels like an ice block by now, and I'm afraid I'm going to hit the ditch or worse, an oncoming car in the opposite lane. I didn't know what to do. The only thing I could think of was my grandpa. Out loud I said, "Papa!" That was my name for him. "If you're here, please help." Now what happened next is something I still can't explain to this day. My windshield, completely covered in a thick layer of frost, which I have zero visibility through, literally started melting just on my side, the driver's side. It was like the defroster had come on and was melting it like it would if the vehicle was running and warming up. Except that's impossible because I had no heat and no power in the vehicle whatsoever. It melted within seconds. Long story longer.
That's the whole podcast, Sean. You're in good company here. If I can make a long story longer, I'll do it.
She'll do it. I have to hold her back sometimes. Mm-hmm. The windshield only in front of me, not the passenger side, was completely melted of ice, and I was able to steer safely the remainder of the way. I sat in shock the rest of the way to town, by the way, but thanked him, of course. literally made me believe our loved ones can still be with us even after they've passed. My mum's husband felt horrible he hadn't seen me freezing and waving for him to stop, but the story I had sure made our day. Oh, tell Kieran to keep up the puns. Thank you.
You're just making that up. The emails don't actually say that. It never says that anywhere.
I hope you enjoyed my story. Sorry it's so long. Nope. Absolutely perfect. Perfect in length.
What a story.
What a story.
Oh my God.
So I'm assuming in the second situation, he's being towed, but not in a tow truck. It's just a...
Yeah, that's what it
between.
sounds like. So if it was on a tow truck, he wouldn't have to steer.
No, but he's getting towed and has to steer. So he's
Yeah.
waving for his mum's husband
Yeah.
to stop because he's steering and has to still brake so he doesn't hit the back of him.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Very strange. Or should we go back to the light one first?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for your loss. That's a horrible situation.
Yeah, I really feel for you, Sean. I had a similar thing a few years ago, and it's rough.
Yeah. Very peculiar. It reminded me of a phenomena that happens on aeroplanes sometimes, where there's a lightning ball appears.
Oh yeah, the ball lightning.
Yeah, appears like in the aisle of the plane because all the charges kind of come together. It can happen in like the cockpits and there stuff. Not what would have been happening here, but it...
I would shit my pants if that happened on an airplane.
Yeah, and
I'm not too proud to say it.
It's just a big ball of light appears, and it's a lightning ball.
I wonder could you look up some photos of ball lightning so we can share them on the Instagram?
I'm sure I could do that.
Oh
I
my
could do
God.
that.
Yeah, I could see that.
But
it wouldn't move though, not like that.
No, and
so
not,
it doesn't like shoot through the air, does it? It just kind of appears.
I'm not sure if you move through it, so it stays in one place, so it would go down the plane, but it's because you're moving, not it.
Well, like in a room, it's not going to shoot through. I mean,
a house isn't moving, and it's not in the middle of a cloud. So not what I think this is. It just popped into my head.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. It's a good thought.
Theory, almost. It's not even a theory. It's just something similar. I appreciate the light ball, but in person. Because, on the ghost shows, they're like, oh, look at that orb we filmed. And it's...
Kieran has a real problem with orbs.
Yeah, it's just light on dust.
He takes it as a personal attack whenever anyone talks about an orb.
Yes.
So please send us your orb stories.
Oh.
I would love to read them.
But yeah, clearly not what happened in this case.
No, because it sounds like it is its own source of light.
Yeah.
Which is different. If it is a glow.
Mm-hmm. Out of nowhere, a ball of light about the size of a golf ball. So it's just winging through.
I don't know. The only thing I can think is that it's a reflection of a mirror or something like that. But I honestly don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
Very, very strange.
But I've never experienced anything like that. So I don't know.
Did anyone else believe you if everyone else is getting ready in other rooms?
Would you tell people on the day of the funeral?
Oh, I don't know. Test the water with like one.
I guess it would depend.
Sibling.
It would depend who you were telling, because I would imagine some people might get upset.
Yes.
Or some people might get so happy it upsets them.
Yeah. Strange. So then it's a week later that the car frost situation happens. Mm-hmm. That's another weird one.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
Because that's a mechanical thing. The windscreen's not just going to defrost, and there wouldn't be anything warm enough to defrost it or melt the frost off.
Well, yeah, to see it melting, you would need some quite serious heat or a good, beam of light.
Well, he said this was 6 a.m. It's going to be dark.
He did say it was 6 a.m.
That recall, baby.
Oh.
I'm good at what I do.
You should run a podcast or something.
Maybe I should.
Without me.
I should. We know if it's that early, because we get it here. The clocks just went back last night.
Yeah.
It is dark at 6 a.m.
Yes, it is.
It's dark at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So, the sun's not going to be that strong.
No, and it's pretty weird. Well, it's also weird it just started frosting up that quickly. But if he'd scraped it, it would kind of start to freeze again.
Yeah, that I'm not surprised by. Because there's no heat in the car.
No. And the only heat source would be him. Mm-hmm. So unless
He's not going to be running that hot, surely.
No, or just like pure panic sweating just creates all of this heat only on his side of the car.
Even that, I would have thought it would be a smaller area.
Yeah.
You know, because the way you sit in a car, your forehead is closest to the windscreen.
Yep.
So maybe like a little round defrosted bit.
Very strange,
I don't know.
Can't really explain that at all.
No.
And I wouldn't want to, because it sounds very nice and very personal. It must be nice to have those two occurrences.
Well, it sounds like you were supposed to see both of those things, Sean. They were supposed to happen to you, and they happened at just the right time.
Yeah.
I think.
I think that's nice. I seem to recall in our last listener ghost stories, there was like the gold man. Do you remember?
Yes.
And it was very like guardian angel-esque. Somebody saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you've got someone looking out for you too, Sean.
Sounds like it.
I think so.
That could have been gnarly.
Yeah. I rate that. I'm going to go 16 out of 17
I was going to say 16 coffins.
Aye.
Because I have unanswered questions about that ball of light. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know what it looked like. What colour was it? How fast did it move? What was it? Mm-hmm. Tell me.
And this is rating for me on like spookiness.
Yeah, not quality of the story. They've all been great.
Wanted to clarify that so nobody gets offended. Very nice. Thank you very much, Sean from Montana.
Montana.
That's someone else who's complimented me, who I've given a high score to.
Okay, well, our next couple of stories come from Claire.
Ooh.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire. She sent in multiples.
Yes, they are shorter than the ones that we've read already, but she sent in 4.
Ooh.
4.
Spooky lady.
So here we go. Hello, Ailey and Kieran.
Hi.
Hi, Claire. I've recently discovered your podcast and I'm working my way through the episodes. I've just listened to your reader's story episodes and was inspired to share my own stories. They're not the scariest you will have told, but hopefully they're a little spooky. Claire, love them. Already love that you've emailed in. Love everything about it.
Yes.
Don't worry about a thing. So here's the first story. I have a 5-year-old, Nathaniel. He has some educational speech delay and is not known for making stories up. We live in Carlisle, just under the Scottish border, and like most families here, took him to visit the castle. I have heard about the castle.
Have you?
It's on my radar. Our castle has seen a lot of action during its existence, being the last English stronghold before reaching Scotland, including being besieged by Robert the Bruce, hosting, imprisoning, Mary Queen of Scots, only for 2 months, being overpowered by the Jacobites and fighting off the border reivers, to name a few. Lots of things that we've talked about.
Yeah, we've talked about the border reivers a lot.
Mm-hmm. It is rumoured to have several ghostly residents. We took our son, who had the time of his life running around the rooms and laughing. He particularly enjoyed the dungeons. We spent over an hour chasing him around while he had the time of his life.
Very nice.
Sounds so cute.
Yeah, it sounds very pleasant.
A few months later, we decided to take him again since he had so much fun. This time, he was in there for 10 minutes and said he was bored and wanted to leave. We asked him why he didn't like it this time, and he told us it was no fun as the clown wasn't there to play with him.
Oh.
One of the ghosts is said to be a court jester.
Ooh, tremendously spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Made worse by clowns.
One of the creepiest things to me is seeing your child, or a child you care about, doing something that you can't explain, and then them telling you that they see someone that you don't see. And that's the reason for their behaviour.
Yeah. We've talked about that a few times
we
before,
have,
I'm sure.
because it's the creepiest thing in the world.
It just is. Because why would they lie? You know?
Especially when they're really young. What she said, he was 5. He was 5. They don't know to lie.
No. Ooh, very spooky.
Because the clown wasn't there to play with me.
17 out of 17.
Yeah, that's
very spooky.
Really creepy.
I wonder if Carlisle Castle has red caps near it.
Ooh.
Because red caps were just north of the border.
Good callback.
But we only looked at the Scottish folklore. So I wonder if red caps are also a problem south of the border.
Let us know.
Apart from being not real, of course. But
Kieran with a hot take.
Where's the fun in that?
Okay, story number 2.
Yes.
My dad died several years before Nathaniel was born. He wasn't keen on having his photo taken after he had a stroke, and we have no photos of him in the house. My dad's exactly the same. He hates getting his photo taken.
My wife's the same as well.
Don't out me. On my wedding day, my sister gave me a locket with a picture of my dad in it, taken on my parents' wedding day in 1977.
Oh,
that's super cute.
That's lovely.
One day, when wearing the locket, Nathaniel opened it and said, "Who's this, Mummy?" I told him it was Grandpa Bear. He likes to be called Baby Bear after the Jill Murphy stories, and calls my husband and me Mummy and Daddy Bear.
Very nice.
I told him he'd passed away. My husband said it was a shame Nathaniel hadn't met him, as he's my dad's mini-me. Same blonde hair, mannerisms and cheeky smile. Nathaniel said, "I met him. He comes to see me in my room." I asked if he ever spoke to him, and he said, "No, he just smiles at me."
Well, that's really nice, I guess.
I asked if he was scared, and he looked at me like I was crazy and said, "No, he loves me." And he really, really would have loved him, as he is so like his granddad, it sometimes takes my breath away.
Oh,
it's creepy and cute.
I know. It's not often you can be both. Yeah, I don't know how Claire felt in that moment, being totally freaked out, but also super happy, I imagine.
It's a pretty common thing. I've heard about this happening a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, where kids talk about relatives that they couldn't have met before in a way that suggests that they have properly met them and they've not just overheard stories. It's a super common thing.
Very weird.
And I would believe if ghosts were going to do anything, they would come visit their loved ones.
Yeah, that I would believe.
Meet their grandkids.
Yep. You better watch out in case you have the child from Sixth Sense in your house, though.
Watch out, Claire. Might have to put the child in the bin and get a whole new one.
Very spooky.
What are you going to rate it?
I'm going to go 17 again.
Me too.
Very spooky. I like a child witness.
It's very spooky. It's very horror movie.
Yeah.
To me, even though this is a lovely encounter.
Yes.
And I'm sure Nathaniel is lovely. It just reminds me a lot of horror movies when you have a child who can see ghosts.
If these happened at all close together, put the wee one up to bed and just be like, he's a bit spooky, isn't he? His eyes a bit.
It's like Isa from Still Game. She's a bit spooky with that. Right, number 3 of 4. My husband is ex-military and served 17 years in the army. He's about as shockable as cement. We were talking about that with Helva's story.
Yes.
On our honeymoon, we stayed at a hotel in Lanzarote. Very nice. One night he got up to use the bathroom and I heard him shouting and then running out of the bathroom. I assumed, like any good wife, that he trapped his todger in the toilet seat somehow and was going to spend the rest of the week bitching at me about how much it hurt. Ain't that like a husband?
I don't care about your bruised walloper.
She then explains that she's a nurse and nurses are known for not being sympathetic to their own families.
Fair. I mean, not when they've caught their own dicks in the toilet.
I would be sympathetic to a point.
Yeah.
But probably not as much as you would want.
What are you holding, being like, oh man, you have no idea how much this hurts.
Speaking of nurses not being very sympathetic to their own families, my granny, or I should say my uncle, broke his nose at my dad's wedding, or had his nose broken at my dad's wedding. And
innocently.
By accident. We were all dancing and it was an errant elbow. Broke his nose. And my granny used to be a nurse and rushed over immediately. I might have even told the story. Rushed over immediately, grabbed his face and reset his nose then and there. And the scream, he was raging.
He was raging.
She fixed his nose and there's just no big deal. Oh, there you go.
Done. Quit whinging. That's it back together. Oh!
So I get it. That is a thing.
I imagine he got quite merry that night. I don't recall, but imagine waking up with that hangover.
Oh, he was in a lot of pain at the time.
Yeah.
Do you not remember?
Only vaguely.
Oh, shouting.
Yeah.
The granny wasn't bothered.
No, she was just taking care of business.
Anyway, she thinks todger in the toilet seat.
Yes.
Husband proceeded to switch on every light in the room. It was 3 a.m. I was not amused. He told me that he'd had a wee and washed his hands, when he turned around to go back to bed and saw a maid in the doorway of the bathroom looking right at him.
Oh.
He used some of his special squaddy swear words at her and said she just disappeared. No trace of her anywhere. And we slept with the lights on for the rest of the holiday.
Well, that's pretty spooky. Mm-hmm. Claire, you are knocking it out of the park
I know.
here.
And you have 4 of these?
Oh. Strange. I wonder if it was going to be something in the mirror.
Oh.
Something spooky.
Another horror movie trope.
Yeah. I imagine he could swear like a trooper.
Yeah, I would believe it.
Because he was a trooper.
That is what people say, Kieran. Yeah. That is what people say.
You know, you just use a phrase and then you think about the phrase and you're like, oh, that's why this phrase exists.
Yeah.
And anyway, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I'm always a little bit skeptical about stories where you've been asleep, you've just woken up, you're just going to sleep. Because I think your brain does weird things when you're sleeping.
Yeah. I think
that would be scary as hell.
The being freaked out. I'm just being a dick again. Definitely freaked out.
Just being a dick again.
I just keep pussyfooting around it, but possibly not a ghost. But the fear would definitely be real.
Oh yeah. If there was any suggestion that there was a stranger in your room, you would freak out. You would. If you had a thought and you thought you saw someone in your room who shouldn't be there, you would freak out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'd be right to do so.
Very much so.
I'm going to rate 13.
I'm going to do 14 again.
Yeah.
It's just superb storytelling.
Yeah. Storytelling, 17 out of 17.
Yep.
Creepy factor, 13.
Fair.
Because the ones with Nathaniel were creepier.
Yes.
So I have to follow my own rating system.
Well, you've got to be consistent.
You know. So last one from Claire.
Oh yes, she had the 4.
I went on holiday several years back with my sister to Kenya.
Ooh.
Jealous.
Bet that was fun.
We stayed at a lovely cliffside hotel in Kilifi. Lovely, apart from wild monkeys and escaped python. Different story there.
Ooh.
But it's still creepy.
For different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Before going, we had to take heavy-duty malaria tablets, which, according to the label, could produce auditory hallucinations.
Oh.
I've heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Mental.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Midway through the 18-night trip. 18 nights, Claire?
Nice.
Can we come next time? We'll spend 18 nights in Kenya.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'll take the mad drugs. It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
I'd be the worst if you take them. Just like making noises in the background.
You would. You'd be horrible.
Horrible.
Midway through the 18-night trip, I was woken up by my sister walking past my bed into the bathroom. I know, right? What's with all the bathrooms?
The one common factor is you, Claire. Maybe you're doing something
You're
spooky.
the toilet ghost. Sorry, Claire, I don't mean that. These things pop in my head and I have to say them. I saw her figure in the dark, the light go on, the door close, and could see the light under the door. I lay there for a while waiting for her to come back out. I waited and waited and waited some more. Then I really needed to pee. I'm a type 1 diabetic. We pee a lot. After what felt like 20 hours, I was spitting mad. The mad you only get when your sister's hogging the only loo and doing it on purpose. Claire, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I have a little sister that used to do that all the fucking time. I was a pain in the arse, and as she's gotten older, she does it because she's putting makeup on, and I cannot handle it. We went on holiday to Paris and went to Disney, and she did it there, and it was a pain in my arse. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Also, thank you, India, for doing the social media for us. Love you. I turned onto my other side to get out of the bed to check she was okay and didn't have raging traveller's tummy or something.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not a complete monster. Only to see her in the bed across the room, sound asleep. I've never been so proud of anything in my life as I was of my bladder in that moment for not just letting it all go.
Yeah, that would have been embarrassing.
It's a real concern. Oh, I picked up a book, Terry Pratchett's Witches Trilogy, hardback, a weighty tome indeed.
Very nice.
Nice.
Good choice.
To defend myself from whoever was in there and storm the bathroom screaming the war cry of my ancestors. Fucking fuck. To find the bathroom completely empty.
Oh.
The light off and absolutely no sister on the toilet. Hallucination or ghost, I'll never know, but I now have a lifelong wariness of all toilets, especially ones abroad. There was also an incident with a toilet and a chicken in Kenya. Clearly, if there is a God, they're laughing at me. Hopefully these stories have spooked you a little, or at least made you laugh. Take care, Claire.
If they're laughing at you, does that mean they like toilet humour?
It was your grin that sold it. Claire, amazing. Thank you so much. They were all brilliant.
And congrats on not weighing the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Fair play.
Especially getting a fright like that and you really have to pee.
On a full bladder, that's tough.
I feel like that would be akin to being in a car when you really have to pee and then it suddenly breaks and you get the seatbelt.
Yep.
You know, like, sometimes you just can't. Mm-hmm. Kudos to you, Claire.
Kudos indeed.
It's a bladder of iron.
Yes. Very strange. Mm-hmm. Especially seeing the bead of light under the door. Because I've had that before, where I've been like, why is a light on? I'm looking at it for ages. But then I kind of get up more, and there is no light on. But I'm a ham sandwich, so I just fall back to sleep.
When have you had that?
I don't know. But
right. This happens an awful lot. Where we're doing listener stories, or we're talking on the podcast, and you very casually, no care at all, talk about these really creepy things that have happened in our shared home that you don't tell me when they happen.
I think it was our old house where we used to live that happened.
It's not really any better. You didn't tell me.
No, it doesn't stick with me. Strange.
You're exhausting sometimes.
Yep.
Frankly.
Everyone here knows it. Excellent choice of reading material and weapon.
I think that bumps it up to like a 16 for me.
Nice.
Purely down to the reading material. And it's only not a 17 because, again, it's I woke up and it happened. I was sleepy and it happened. And it's not that I doubt you, Claire. I just have that in my brain.
I'm going to go 15. That's what I'm thinking.
Fair.
15 out of 17. Good work. Very spooky.
Excellent stories.
You
knocked it out of the park.
Thank you so much for sending those in, Claire. Next, we have a story from Chris, who runs livebreathescotland.com.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you very much, Chris, for writing in. We were chatting because I wrote a post for his blog. He has like a Scottish travel blog.
Go check it out if you're interested.
Go and check out. And I wrote a post for it about haunted places in Scotland.
Our specialty.
Absolutely. And so we were just chatting, and then it was at the end of one of the last emails, he had said, P.S. Out of curiosity, do you genuinely believe in any of the things you talk about? I had a weird experience as a child that stuck with me. And then he's shared his story. So he didn't even know we like to share ghost stories.
Which is super cool to me. He just wanted to share. I love that.
So thank you for sending this in, Chris. I was staying at my cousin's house and sleeping on the floor. The lights were off, but the light from the lobby was shining into the room, with the door open a little.
That's what we were just talking about.
I noticed a figure standing in the door between the light and myself, but it was transparent, and only an outline. Imagine a shadow cast onto a wall on a sunny day, but the shadow wasn't affected by the light coming from the lobby. Although it was an outline of a figure, i.e. a body and a head, the head was much more bulbous than a normal head. It was completely featureless, just a transparent shadow. It was motionless to begin with. I just looked at it, wondering what it was. Then the head started moving from side to side as if trying to touch its shoulders with its ears, and repeated that over and over.
Ew.
Then it gradually got closer and closer, repeating this head movement.
Ew.
I tried to wake my cousin, but he wouldn't wake up, and it just got closer and closer.
Ew.
Nothing happened after that, and I just woke up in the morning, but it was disconcerting to say the least. Maybe it was a dream, but it felt real and still gives me the heebie-jeebies now. And I often look up at the door to my bedroom before I go to sleep just to see if the figure is there.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah. I told my mum about it, and oddly she said she also saw a similar shadow figure at the bottom of our road. Creepy. She says the shadow people of Aradul.
Oh, that's creepy as hell.
Which sounds like somewhere in Lord of the Rings, near Mordor. Aradul.
Well, I can think of few things more horrifying than just seeing a figure doing that.
I know that motion, because
that's very unsettling.
Until he specified, I imagine like a no, side to side.
This is way worse.
But ear to shoulder.
Because it's not natural.
No, if you do that yourself, it feels very strange.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's uncomfortable.
Unless you've just gone out of a swimming pool.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah, very weird. Could be a dream. like if he tried to wake his cousin and couldn't, that suggests a kind of like half awake, half asleep nightmare, weird.
Well, I've had dreams before where I've dreamt I've woken up for the morning.
Yeah.
And I haven't. So then when I do wake up, I get confused about what's real and what isn't real.
Yeah, and it's very strange.
Because in the dream I wake up and start my day as I would if I actually got out of bed.
But I think +2 spooky points that his mum had a similar encounter.
I'll allow for that.
That gives it a bit more weight, I think.
And the bulbous head.
The bulbous head is really weird. It's all very, very creepy.
Very creepy.
I can understand why you still have the heebie-jeebies.
Mm-hmm. I have the heebie-jeebies now.
Yep, I am heebie-jeebed.
Well, I'm going to give that 15.
Very nice, very nice.
15 coffins.
I'm going to go 14 coffins.
Fair.
Because
that's with +2 for Spooky Mum.
Yeah, I would have gone 12 because it's a sleeping-based one. Mm-hmm. But I like the second person to kind of...
corroborate.
Exactly. To bring the story some extra oomph. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And go check out livebreathescotland.com. It's a cool blog.
Okay, so we've had a couple of ghost stories sent in as we've been recording.
Yes.
So we're going to read those.
Amy put out the call on Instagram.
Yeah, and you guys delivered. Thank you so much. So this one is from Molly.
Hello, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Thank you for writing in.
Thank you. Hello, guys. This is a story I overheard being told to my mum by one of her friends when I was a teenager, 13, 14. I'm now 27. Oh, eavesdropping on a mum's conversation.
To get gold that way.
There were few things more adrenaline building than that, I tell you what. Oh, before this, I was a total ham sandwich.
Hell yeah.
But this story opened the door ever so slightly for me.
Ooh.
What do we call people in the middle?
Oh, I don't know. For those who don't know, I am a ham sandwich because that is how receptive I am to the supernatural.
It just doesn't penetrate.
It just doesn't go anywhere.
I was captivated by the story and eavesdropped for ages. Also, this is a trigger warning for animal cruelty. Oh. No gruesome details, but still upsetting. Thanks for that, Molly.
Appreciate that.
The story starts when the lady, let's call her Sarah, moves house with her husband and 2 children. At the time, the kids would have been 6 and 3 years old. Her husband, Adam, starts renovating the house, and as he is a carpenter, he managed to do most of the work himself.
That's handy.
He replaces a number of ceilings in the house and the fireplaces. Lots of debris is taken out. A messy job. During one of these renovations, in the top floor of the house, he unfortunately finds a dead animal tucked above a beam near the fireplace. They make it out to be a dog. It had mummified and was covered in dust and debris from the works. Adam only told Sarah about the find, as it's not something you tell children, obviously. It was very shocking and horrible to find. Upset, they dispose of the body quietly and respectfully. I don't even know what I would do.
Oh, I don't know.
In the weeks that followed, all seemed okay in the house. Suddenly, the youngest child started to sleep poorly, which isn't uncommon at that age and to go through poor sleep stages as you grow. He kept asking to sleep in his parents' bed, and they let him every now and then. One time, Sarah took him back into his room, and upon entering, a toy started flashing and making noise. Cliché, scary film vibes.
That's what you were saying, yep.
Although shocked, Sarah turned it off and put it down to the batteries starting to run out. Never understood this theory, but hey-ho.
It's just a way to make yourself feel better, I think, isn't it?
It must be the batteries. This continues over a few weeks, always being explained away to toys being stepped on, kids actually playing with said toys when they were supposed to be asleep, and rubbish batteries, etc. One night, the youngest is being tucked into bed and asked to sleep in the parents' room again. Sarah says no, and that he has his own room to sleep in. Later on, she hears him being fussy and checks on him. He's awake, and she asks if he's okay. He says, "There's an old lady over there in the corner." Sarah, believing he's awoken from a dream, tries to calm him down and says, "Well, I'm sure she's a nice lady." The child responds, "No, Mummy, she's a bad lady. She hits doggies."
Ooh.
Finally, freaked out, she moves him straight into her bedroom and then tells her husband. To reiterate, The 2 children were never told about the poor dog that was found. Sarah and Adam were freaked out and discussed the linkage between the 2 incidents and surmised the poor dog had been abused, so crept away and hid in fear, passing away shortly afterwards. The poor, poor little darling. That is so sad.
That is very sad.
After the ghostly incident, whilst going through paperwork about the sale of the house and insurances, etc., they found that the house had previously had a ban on keeping animals. I can't remember the specific details about this, but it actually continued for a couple of years whilst they lived there, I think, as it hadn't been removed with the sale. They had no pets at the time, so it hadn't come up. I also believe the evil woman who was banned had died, and that is why the house was for sale to begin with. They moved the youngest into the 6-year-old room until they knew what to do. They contacted several people to cleanse the house and do all manner of things to get rid of the spirit. As far as I know, they weren't sure whether these had worked, as they didn't want to go in the room. They redecorated a spare bedroom for their youngest child, and the instances of toys going off slowly stopped. As the child got older, he never spoke of any other encounters. This is as much detail as I can remember. I don't know if it was the same room where the dog was found or not. They still live there now, and I've not heard any of the family talk about it since I haven't seen them for years. Love your podcast. Me and my boyfriend listen separately and together on road trips. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you very much, Molly.
Oh.
I don't know of anything that would pain me more than having to pay to get the house saged. As a ham sandwich and a cheapskate Scotsman. Paying someone to come and cleanse the house. I would do it for kids who were struggling, suffering, but it'd been like...
So you would do it for kids, you wouldn't do it for me if I was struggling?
No. I'm like, you're fine.
There's a Scottish specific cleansing practice called seining.
Oh yeah.
Which is similar to saging, but it's not with sage. There's a Scottish specific one.
Do you find an insane person and use them?
No.
Well, that was a super interesting story.
Yeah. If it's true, then I'm glad that woman's dead.
Yes. It took, it didn't go where I thought it was going.
No.
Because the animal near the fireplace, we've talked about that before as being like an old, like a kind of common practice. Usually cats or birds more than dogs.
Yeah.
Behind the fireplace for protection.
A lot of people believe that it kept away witches.
So, with the evil woman, I wondered if that was there for protection, and they removed the protection from the house, and that let the spirit who'd been kept at bay in.
Spooky.
So it would have actually been fixed if they put the dog back, weirdly.
Spooky if true.
Yeah. But then the link to the dog, it went... Well,
there have been things in the paperwork that suggest that she wasn't allowed to keep animals anymore. That's very compelling.
Yeah, very weird.
Yeah. Sad. It makes me sad.
Spooky and sad.
Few things pain me more than hearing about people who treat their dogs and pets like that.
Yeah.
Especially dogs, because they're my favourite.
Yep. I'm also with you, Molly, of battery running down, causing it to turn on more. I feel like that's just a thing people say.
But, well, not turn on more, I guess, erratically.
Yeah, work more erratically. It's a strange one. But I wonder if she said it just to make herself feel better. Like, that just happened because the battery's low.
It's what I would do.
Because the battery's low. Yeah, the battery's low. You know.
It's what I would do, 100%.
Yeah.
It would stop me crying myself to sleep at night.
Again, trying to imagine being there for this. I wonder how hard it was for Sarah, the mum, to take her wee one in to sleep with them, having just heard about this old woman who was bad to dogs, and then telling her husband while the wee one's there. So you have to, I just heard a little story. Because you don't want to freak out, because they'll get freaked out. Well,
you can't make it worse as a parent.
Yeah.
You have to give the impression that you are completely calm and in control, not bothered, you've got this.
Yeah.
Even if you're freaking out.
Just turned with like one eye twitching, like, I just heard a fun little story. Like, can I tell Daddy what happened?
Please?
And then telling that and him being like, that's a fun story that we should talk about at length later.
Yeah, very creepy.
Very creepy. 16 out of 17 coffins.
I was going to say 16 out of 17. It loses a point only because it's sad.
Yeah.
And that's not the fault of the storytelling. It's just sad.
Thank you for writing in. Very spooky.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah. I also appreciate that it didn't happen to you. You heard it indirectly.
Illegally.
Illegal
eavesdropping.
Yeah. Did you ever get to go to that house, I wonder, and just be in there, just be like, ooh? Or did you like run past it really fast? I suppose 13's a bit too old for that.
But then, knowing that it's a woman who used to hurt her dogs, maybe you make a point of going and just giving the ghost the finger.
Maybe.
Because don't hit your animals.
Don't hit your animals.
That's an evil thing to do.
Yeah.
So you go up there just like,
fuck you.
Maybe the only ghost I wouldn't be scared of.
Maybe.
Because I'd just be too raging. We had a quick break. We had some Halloween chocolate. It was great.
Yep. Had a quick water break because we've now had 3 more stories come in since we started. So we're like, I'm not sustained enough for that. I need to get some water. The next story is from the lovely Natalie, who actually runs her own podcast, The Folklore Forum.
Far better than ours. Go listen to hers.
It is about folklore, as you would imagine.
Love it.
And you should go
everything about it.
And check it out.
Natalie, you're great. We love you to pieces.
She's also on the Patreon. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. We love you to bits. Your podcast is wonderful. Mm-hmm. Everyone should go listen.
These are the facts.
Don't even need to read out the ghost story. That's all you get.
Next.
That's all you get.
Hi, Eilidh and Kieran.
Hi.
I have a spooky story, though it isn't exactly a ghost sighting.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. To me, that might be even better.
I had a friend who used to live in a house that backed onto their town cemetery. Creepy, but it happens.
My primary school backed onto a cemetery.
Oh, we've talked about that before, haven't we?
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just you have to live around the dead, and it's just fine. Sometimes you lose your football and you have to go ask the teacher if you can go get it back, and it's very awkward, especially if it lands in front of a specific grave and you're like, oh no, are they going to be upset it landed there? Are they going to be upset I took it away? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
My friend's house was built in the 1980s, so it was modern and cosy with a country charm that many Canadian homes of that era have. Not in any way creepy or spooky. Still, I was apprehensive about spending the night in the house. I'd never stayed anywhere that close to a cemetery before. Neither have I. You're not alone. I asked my friend whether anything unusual ever happened in the house on account of the cemetery, and he said no. That was a relief, yet I still felt uneasy about it. While I never saw anything in the house, I did feel something. In the early morning as I was waking up, I felt a strange sensation on my back. I'd been sleeping on my stomach, as I often do, and I had a sensation as if large, strong hands were pressing down on me, preventing me from getting up or moving. I distinctly remember being awake and unable to move. I did not scream or speak, nor did I see or hear anything. I only felt the sensation of being held down and an overwhelming feeling of not being welcome to stay. Thankfully, I was only there one night and I never did stay there again. Well, that's not a surprise. Now, I've heard of sleep paralysis, and I suppose that's what it might have been. However, I never had that experience before and I've never had it since, and I cannot account for anything out of the ordinary that would have brought it on, except for the location. In any case, I was thoroughly creeped out and glad to go home the next day. I do look forward to hearing all the ghost stories. Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie. That's funny because the first thing that popped into my head was sleep paralysis.
Mine as well. That's because that
the oppression.
Being squished is very common.
Mm-hmm. Except, certainly a lot of the stories I've heard, you're lying on your back because you can see a figure over you.
Yeah.
When you get sleep paralysis.
But I suppose that's just because most people sleep on their back, sleep on your fronts.
Yeah, you don't hear about many people sleeping on their stomach, hey?
I think I had to look into it at one point, and it's like 5 to 10% of people sleep on their stomachs. So it would just happen. It'd be 5 to 10% of sleep paralysis cases.
And I think sleep paralysis is quite rare.
Yes.
Because I feel like you hear about it a lot because people talk about it a lot when they get it. But I don't think it happens to a lot of people.
I've only ever heard of one person in real life like that.
Someone you know personally?
Yeah, someone I know personally having had sleep paralysis. He was on...
Who was it?
A guy in the physics course. So he was very factual about it.
In a way that would make me less scared to hear someone who's experienced it, who talks about it in such a scientific way.
Yeah.
It would make me less scared of possibly having it.
Well, because he was very candid that he saw the figure, was frozen, and had the fear, but was also aware of what was happening.
It's like lucid dreaming almost.
Yeah, so he had the fear and the... It's kind of like when I had fever. The fear is there, but there's also the part of your brain being like, well, this isn't happening. This is fine. But he was pinned and scared.
Creepy.
But I've never considered sleep paralysis might be caused by where you are.
I know. I don't know what causes it. Do people know what causes it generally?
I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Because I don't know what causes sleep paralysis.
So maybe it was sleep paralysis, but maybe
it's like a trigger.
Something sleep paralyzed her. You know?
Or maybe just the fact that you were worried about being there, Natalie. Maybe it was a stressor.
Maybe. Not sure. Very creepy regardless.
I know. Especially, I feel like, being pinned down when you're on your front, you'd feel very vulnerable.
Yeah,
I think.
Totally.
Because you can't see. Very creepy.
Very creepy.
I'm going to knock off the points purely because it's another sleepy time.
Yep. Ooh.
But 15?
I think 15's fair. I'm gonna go 14.
14.
Very spooky. My only remotely similar feeling was I just woke up with a very tight feeling in my chest, but it was just asthma.
So Kieran has asthma.
That was less exciting.
Still uncomfortable.
Yes.
Don't want to not be breathing.
No, don't want.
Don't want that.
Yeah. It would be more uncomfortable having sleep. Well, I don't know. I was going to say it'd be more uncomfortable on your front because you're almost being pressed into your pillow.
And being smothered.
But had Natalie been on her back, maybe she would have also seen the figure. So maybe it was a blessing.
Maybe.
If it was sleep paralysis and it's common that you see this being, so maybe it was there and you couldn't see it. So maybe someone actually did you a solid.
But was it there if she didn't see it? If it's sleep paralysis?
That's the question.
So many questions.
So many questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalie.
Go check out the Folklore Forum podcast.
Yes, please do. It's great. Natalie's great.
The next story we have is from Jan, who sent us in some amazing stories for our first folklore. Who sent in some amazing stories for our first listener ghost story.
Jan, our long-time fan.
Yes, we love you, Jan. Thank you for being here. This one is actually Gabe's experience this time, although I'm typing, hence the confusion, because this email is from Jan. That's why you read it all first, you see? See? Well, thank you, Gabe and Jan.
Gabe and Jan, the long-time fans. It's just not the same.
We'll workshop it. He practically grew up on Balmoral Golf Course. Secret Royal?
Like in a hole?
In the sand bunker?
You've given us a lot to ponder.
Gabe the Rabbit?
Didn't say he was a man.
His grandfather and father both worked there for years, so he spent a lot of time on the course in all weathers and knew the place like the back of his hand. History of it too, including the ghosts. One particular winter brought heavy snow, so they were in the shed a lot. On one morning, about 11:30-12, Gabe and another greenkeeper were sent outside to check around the course, i.e. get them outside for a spell. The shed was probably starting to stink. Yeah, I can imagine that. A lot of physical labour and then a small shed. Gabe was standing at the back of the shed beside his dad, not even left yet, and spotted someone apparently walking down the 9th fairway. He sent to investigate as nobody should have been on the course. There was an 8-foot-high hedge ran parallel to this hole, so the guys were a little taken aback to see this mystery person's head was level with the top of the hedge.
Oh, bulk.
On a cold, clear winter's day, the man was dressed all in black. Once he's gotten within about 80 yards, approximately 70 metres, from the sheds, Gabe and one of the other fellas watched as he turned left and walked away across the course towards a stream that cut through. They began to walk after him through the deep snow, got to the edge of the hedge, no prints. There was a bit of a hill where you could see over the area they'd watched him walk, not one print and no sign of him. They both told the boss man, Gabe's dad, when they went back to the shed. Paddy was just very matter-of-fact in his, that'll have been either Airman or Sam.
I love that you sent them out when he knows exactly what it is. Doesn't get... That sounds a lot like my granddad, actually.
Yeah, to be fair.
Is yet I know what it is, obviously.
Obviously it's that.
Calm down.
Gabe knew about the ghost stories, and while he believed that the first head greenkeeper would haunt the place, he found the idea of the course being a bog meadow hard to fathom, let alone anyone having crashed a plane there. During World War I, there was a POW camp in the area. An airman did indeed overshoot the landing area and crashed into the bog meadow, where the golf course was later built and remains today, sadly drowning. Makes perfect sense to me that he's still there in spirit. Despite working there on and off most of his teen years and career, Gabe never saw him again.
Creepy.
Hope this isn't too long. Have fun, Jan and Gabe.
Thank you, Jan and Gabe.
Thank you very much. Haunted golf course is a new one for the podcast.
Well, we were just talking about places that you would expect to be haunted, and a golf course would not be on the list.
No. So I would be more startled to see a ghost on a golf course. That's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah. And no prints.
No footprints.
It reminds me a bit of the stories of the Big Grey Man.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
because they see everything and hear everything, but some people only see footprints and some people see no footprints, even though there's snow.
That's very strange. Love Gabe's dad just been like, that'll be one of the ghosts.
Yeah, me too.
I just sat there and been like, right, is it fine?
Are we not bothered by this?
Is this all good? Okay, sweet. If no one else is reacting, I guess I'll not react.
Well,
either.
I can't react because my dad's going to take the piss.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I can't say anything. My only time like that was an old friend of ours. We were sat in their living room, and the TV made one of those like creak sounds it does when it's turned off and it's cooling down.
Older TVs, you don't really get it so much anymore.
No, of course. But
the flat ones don't really do it the way that the ones with the big butts used to do.
But it made one of these sounds. We all kind of turned around and looked at it and looked away. And she just, plain as day, went, that'll just be the spirits. And I was sat there just like, is no one addressing this? Are we just letting this?
What?
So, the spirits? Yeah, it'll just be the spirits. They do that. Well, if no one else is saying anything, I'm not going to say anything.
Making you a ham sandwich forever.
Yeah. Sounds an interesting place. If it's full of ghosts and history, the Balmoral Golf Course.
It's almost like someone could make a podcast episode about it.
I know, right? And
it's almost like it's somewhere that's on a podcast creator's master list of episode ideas.
Interesting.
Almost.
Well, now we've got an in. First-hand ghost encounters. Ghost encounters.
Kieran just did air quotes.
There's no proof of that.
For those of you who didn't see that. Well, thank you, Jan and Gabe.
Thank you, Jan and Gabe. Very spooky. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, we need to rate it. I think a 16.
Oh.
Because of the prints. And the 8-foot tall thing.
Yeah, I'll go 16 as well. Very spooky. Very unusual.
Actually, I think 17. Purely for Gabe's dad's comment. That actually bumps it up for me. Because I find that very believable.
I'll just be Airman or Sam.
I like it's funny to me. 17.
Very nice. We need some sort of like klaxon to go off. Woo, 17 coffins. Woo. We don't have a budget for that, so there we go. Another brief interlude as I hooked my necklace around the microphone by accident.
For the second time. This episode. You've hopped into the chair like a pillock and got caught on the microphone.
Maybe it's the ghosts trying to stop me outing them.
No, I don't think that's what that was. I believe in ghosts and I'm fairly confident. Maybe it's just you being a pillock.
Maybe it's because my batteries are running low.
You did have a long walk with the dog today.
I did.
Well, I have our next email. You ready?
I am ready. Is this our final?
Kind of. You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Hello, my dear. How are you doing? On behalf of our law firm, I am writing to intimate you about the passing of your relative distant from your country. Upon the receipt of your response, relevant information of fund that he deposited with a financial institution, including some relevant paperwork pertaining to your constitutional relationship, will be made available to you. Email us for more details. Sincerely, warmest regards, Barrister Epstein Killip, Esquire.
Oh, that's pretty spooky, isn't it? News just in, fresh off the presses.
Okay, I just felt like being a bit silly.
You got me.
So, the actual last email I have for you.
That wasn't it?
No. Is a series of spooky stories from one of our listeners and friends, Rhiannon. And she shared several stories with us.
Excellent.
So we're going to close out the episode with hers.
Is this Rhiannon from the previous listener ghost stories?
Yes. Rhiannon is all over Instagram. She's an artist, and her husband have retreats. I'll find their Instagram handles right now because I want to make sure I have them right.
And she and her husband were prison workers.
Yes,
yes,
which we'll get into a little bit again this time. But listen to our previous listener stories episode because the stories were great. So they both have the _rewild connection. You can also find them at the Bearded Mentor and Rhiannon_Thomas_fine art.
Lovely. So please do that.
Check them out because they're super cool.
Yep.
And lovely and nice.
And thank you for sending in your ghost stories, you wonderful humans.
So here we go. Hello, my wonderful Scottish spookers. I have a few stories for you, but I'll start with one which is super personal, to the point that no one outside of the family actually knows about this. Hope you're all well, and as always, Odin is living life like the king he is. Surely time for a little puppy brother now. Kieran, I'm looking at you. Make it so. I mean, I'm with her. It was just my birthday. Guys, it was just my birthday 2 days ago, and Kieran didn't get me a puppy.
I know, I'm a bastard.
Or, just a dog. Doesn't have to be a puppy.
A dog of any age.
We could adopt a dog. I would love that. Odin would love that. The people would love that.
Would Odin love that?
Yes.
I don't know if he would.
I think he would.
I don't know if I would.
I don't care.
It's not about you.
I don't care what you want. I want a dog.
This much is true.
Anyway, Rhiannon said it, not me. So, spooky story number 1. This happened about 6 years ago. My grandfather, who was an absolute legend, was very ill in hospital. Oh. To the point where we all knew, including himself, that he wouldn't be coming back out. It's a horrible time.
Yeah.
He wasn't particularly old or frail, but the disease was the reason he was in there. Now, it's important to note his personality here. I can describe him in one very short sentence. He used to think it was hilarious to pretend that he was dead in hospital, and then miraculously come back to life when the nurses rushed to him.
Stupendous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's commitment.
That is commitment.
It's like the ultimate dad joke.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more hardcore than that.
That's also super, brave and courageous.
Pretending to be dead.
Yeah, just being like that. Like being able to still joke around when you're that unwell.
I see. I thought,
not the joke
really
itself.
Sticking it to the nurses. Well, I don't think that's what he was doing.
No,
I think it was just fun.
To still be lighthearted and playful at such a difficult time.
Well, yeah, you still have some humour.
Yeah.
He would do the same to my dad and my auntie, who were always at his bedside. Often saying his farewells and pretending to die, only to come back to life with the words, "Oh no, wait, there's rugby on later. I'll die tomorrow." That sounds like a Terry Pratchett
that does.
joke. A brave, complete jokester to the end. On this particular occasion, my dad and aunt had gone to his flat, picked up some clean underwear and a few toiletries, as they did most days, before heading to the hospital. His partner had died years earlier, so he lived alone with his scotch, whiskey, a 45-inch flat-screen TV and his iPad. The man was anything but lonely. They arrived in the hospital this particular day and they got chatting about the past. My dad brought up a memory about how they used to go up to the old wreck, a large rugby pitch behind his house, with the boys after a Sunday roast. My aunt didn't remember this that well, but that was largely because at the time the girls would stay with the mums and clear away the dishes, while the boys and dads all met for a kickabout.
Rough, that sounds about right.
My grandfather's words were, "Oh, bloody hell, that's going back some. Yeah, I remember that. Good times, really good times." They chatted about the memories surrounding being up the wreck with the boys, and later in the evening my grandfather fell asleep. My dad and aunt left and organised to meet at his house and travel to the hospital together in one car. A daily ritual. To be honest, calling into his flat every day was more to do with having a sense of normality for them. They'd open the curtains, make a brew, decompress a bit, and then leave for the hospital. That's fair, because that's... Oh. I've been there too, and it's horrible.
Horrible.
Finally, that day, he died. Or he's still pretending. But the time came when they said their goodbyes. We were all understandably heartbroken because he was one of those salt-of-the-earth, huge Welsh characters. When he passed, my aunt and dad stayed at the hospital for some time to sort out all the bits and bobs that needed doing. Then they both left together in my dad's car and went back to his home to drop off the personal items that they had picked up. My father and aunt are the only two to have the keys to his flat. They opened the door and walked in. There's a small living room with a very comfy sofa in front of the TV. It's always bright, and since it's situated in the Welsh valleys, it was surrounded by greenery and countryside, a beautiful part of the world. Upon walking in, my aunt stopped dead and stared at the chair. No, he wasn't sat in it, but on the arm of the chair was a piece of paper that hadn't been there when they had left that morning. They know that for definite because they were sat in the chairs drinking tea before heading to see him. They walked over to the paper and noticed it was torn from my granddad's shopping list pad, and in his handwriting it had written, "Up the wreck with the boys."
Oh.
A few things. It was 100% not there the morning before he died. No one else had been able to get in, and we're a close family, so no one would ever have planted anything. But also, it was my dad who brought up the memory with my grandfather. If it was my grandfather who had mentioned it to his kids, you could assume he somehow set it up.
Yeah.
But no. The final thing being that it was in his beautiful scrolling handwriting, a talent I unfortunately did not inherit. We still have the note, it's with my father, so it's quite nice to know that he's doing okay and is up there throwing a rugby ball around with his friends. My dad was a total skeptic, closed off to the point of being ridiculous at times. But this has shaken everything he thought he believed in, and is very much a believer now.
That would rock you.
Another granddad.
Another granddad. Surprised that wasn't signed off with "stick that up your ham sandwich."
Wow.
Well, that's something else.
And they have the bit of paper.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Right?
That's almost beyond belief.
Again, it's a really nice one, though.
Yeah, that's lovely. What a lovely thing to have.
And to have the note, like even regardless of how it got there, just having that with his handwriting on it is really special.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of the things we don't have a lot of my granddad's things like that, because he never wrote anything down. Yeah. Ever.
You tell it to your granny instead.
Yeah. It's just nice having that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say. I am lost for words.
You seem a bit struck.
Yeah. That's something else. 17. 17 out of 17.
I mean, it would be 17 out of 17 if you had stopped at he pretended to die every day in hospital.
Well, that's true.
That's hysterical.
It's so funny. I also heard ball and assumed football, but
nope.
Wales, so rugby ball. Does make more sense.
And you know, rugby's better than football.
Yeah, I suck at both of them, so that's all the same to me. For you, score?
Oh, 17. 17. Because it would have been 17 without the spooking.
Yes.
So, 17.
An easy 17.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Rhiannon. That sounds very personal.
That's really special.
Yeah.
Really, really special.
Very grateful that you wanted to share that with us and the listeners.
And also glad that you have that.
Yeah.
You have that story and you have that note. Rhiannon actually has 3 more stories for us.
Good heavens.
So strap in.
Good things coming forwards.
Oh, Claire. No.
Yep.
Claire sent 4.
She did.
Oh my God. Now I have something a bit different for you. A recipe for spooking.
Oh.
A generous dollop of gruesome, some creepy facts, and a sprinkling of debunking. It's like your dream.
I know. That's kind of the podcast,
Mainly
really, isn't
because
it?
it sounds like food.
Yeah.
It's your dream. Firstly, both Darren, my husband, and my father currently work in the prison service. So that's what we were saying before.
Yes.
If you want to hear Rhiannon's previous stories, check out our previous listener stories episode. With 30 plus years service each.
Wow.
Dang. There's a ton of encounters in prisons, and it's not surprising considering the environment and general negativity.
Yes.
Again, like we were saying earlier. So, I'll start with a few facts that have added to the feel of unease and ghostly happenings in the prison service. My father, who used to work in HMP once... I just thought this is the same dad who found the note. No wonder he was a skeptic. Like, he works in the prison service.
Yeah, that kind of checks out, doesn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
It's like we were saying about the Marines.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, my father, who used to work in HMP Wandsworth, was retelling how during the 80s there was still a working gallows, which was tested once a month. I assume they didn't just pick a prisoner at random. At this point, you could still be hung for high treason and explosions in Her Majesty's dockyard.
Oh.
It's not surprising then that there was a lot of strange goings-on around this area. But a prison is noisy, so it's difficult to pinpoint things. Especially since the gallows used to be situated behind the tea room on E-Wing. Pleasant.
I wonder if there was a window looking out.
Well, probably.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of windows everywhere. Just need to know what's going on.
Apparently, or would you have fewer so that people can't get out?
Open. They wouldn't have to open. Maybe the tea room would be the one place.
But what if you could break them? Then it's a weapon.
Ah. Interesting.
Apparently, it never did bother any of the officers, but it does go to show how intricately connected life and death is in that environment. It does become a normal thing to be around, which lends all the more weight to officers seeing ghosts, as they are very much unfazed by the atmosphere and what could be general spookiness.
Very nice.
I like it. Already a 17?
Yep.
So they're not expecting to see things perhaps in the same way as the public would.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
If you're more used to your surroundings, it makes sense.
Yeah. It is funny how you can just normalise things, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's just the gallows. Like, the gallows. Like, do they work? Like, yeah, we have to test it every month. Like, you test the gallows. Yes. I didn't think it was weird until you pointed it out.
We have to make sure they're working. Jesus.
What's the point of having a faulty gallows?
Oh. No. A little less known fact is that in Victorian prisons, the cell ceilings had a dome shape to them.
Oh.
Unless, that is, they were old hanging rooms. You could tell by the ceiling being flat, as it used to be the trapdoor. So the cell the prisoner was in would have been the drop room.
Oh. Imagine staring up at that as you're thinking about what you did in there.
Now, leading on from this, there's been a huge amount of sightings and stories of apparitions turning up in such rooms and the other cells on the landings. One prisoner jumped through safety glass in the healthcare unit to escape the man in white that appeared in his cell with him. He was utterly terrified and had cut himself to bits in the process.
I was just about to say.
Not a prisoner who was known for making things up and very much mentally stable. The man in white certainly isn't an isolated case.
Ooh.
To jump through safety glass?
Through safety glass?
Like, that's a desperate move.
Yeah.
That's not something you just do.
Jesus Christ.
That would hurt.
Yeah.
So bad.
I know a guy who got 56 stitches because he jumped through a glass window because he thought it would be like the movies, and it wasn't.
You have weird friends.
Yeah, that's fair.
Perhaps a stranger fact was that HMP Huntercombe, I hope I'm saying that right, was built by German prisoners of war.
Oh.
And it was the plan to house German officers there for interrogation. The prisoners of war built the walls, but only cemented the corners of each brick, with a plan to tell the officers that an escape would have been possible.
Nice. Fiendish.
But they never actually got to meet the officers who were being held there. Fast forward to the 80s, a prisoner took a run at the wall in frustration, not knowing anything about this, and ended up on the street outside. He was so scared that he jumped back in and alerted the staff immediately. I wonder if he just thought he'd, like, gained the ability to go through walls.
Yeah.
Because you would look at it as a solid brick wall and how did I just do that? How did that just happen?
Like, that's so bizarre. I think it might be in Austin Powers or something. He's like banging against a cell door and it just swings open. And he's, I'll get it, and just swings it shut again.
Maybe that's why it was in the movie.
Maybe. That's bizarre. I mean, like, where are you going to go if you suddenly find yourself having jailbroken? Just start running?
I don't know.
It's the Inverary jail problem all over again.
But I feel like, because if you don't have a plan, what do you do?
Yeah, because even if you have a plan to escape, what's next is hard. So if you accidentally escape, like, you know you're going to get caught. So it's probably fair play.
And then you'll get years added.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just wander back and excuse me. Excuse me.
But then maybe your sentence would be reduced because that is the goodest of good behaviour.
That is the goodest of good behaviour. Imagine being on the road.
Just walking along the pavement.
Just walking along. And
this brick wall erupts in front of you.
And a
with
prisoner.
Massive dust and just falling bricks. And I'm imagining a prisoner in like a cartoon stripy outfit.
Ah, yeah. I had like an orange jumpsuit. Looking at you, screaming, and then running back into the prison. Sorry!
That's a crazy image.
Yeah, that's something else.
Well, someone must have seen. Surely.
I mean, you'd probably see before it got tidied up. Just driving home one day and you see a hole into the prison. Like, hun, you want to lock the door?
See, that can't be good. Something's gone wrong there. A huge number of spooky apparitions have also occurred in HMP Cardiff, a prison where I also worked once upon a time. One of the regular occurrences takes place in the appointment room, which is the old nurses' station. Staff have seen an old matron in traditional matron's uniform in that room. Often she's just quietly continuing her job, but has never interacted with anyone so far. Many staff have seen the matron.
Interesting.
Creepy.
Very creepy.
I almost believe it more because she's never interacted with anyone.
No, she's just got work to do.
Yeah.
Imagine matrons being very busy.
She's busy. She's got shit to get on with.
Very dedicated.
Yeah. The visits hall has also got a resident ghost and has been seen by officers and governors alike. One particular instance, a female figure was sat at the opposite end of the hall by one of the visits tables. Just waiting, I suppose. Another happened to a member of staff.
Creepy.
So she's teasing the next story.
Yeah.
So what do we think about those encounters? That's story number 1, technically.
Story number 1. I like the matron. I think
it's got to be 17 for the jailbreak that didn't happen.
Yes, yeah.
That alone.
An easy 17. Accidentally broke out of jail. That's a story to tell.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I believe a matron just getting on with it.
Yeah. Next spooky story.
Story number 2. This one is for Kieran.
Hello.
So listen this time. You were just on your phone that whole time.
I was not on my phone.
You haven't listened to a single story.
I've been listening. God.
Darren was working in HMP Huntercombe at the time and was on a night shift during a very cold day in February. He was walking down a long passageway between blocks, approximately 500 yards in total. It was very dark, windy and raining. And then the ravens came.
Spooky setting. I like it.
I added in the ravens. All the hallmark traits of a good horror setting.
Yep.
He had his torch and was en route to A-Wing when he heard footsteps behind him. He naturally swings around to see who's there, and there's no one. He's completely alone. Picking up the pace, he noticed that the quicker he went, the quicker the footsteps went.
Oh.
At this point, he's, and I quote, slightly anxious. Translate as bricking it. And stops abruptly. The footsteps take a couple more steps and also stop. At this point, Darren is really starting to sweat and does the same thing numerous times over. Each time he stops suddenly, they take a few steps and stop also. He's now extremely aware of the fact that something is watching him. At this point, it's quite fair to say that most people would have put this down to a ghost. It's certainly terrifying enough. Had he run down to the block, opened the gate and gone in, this is probably how the story would have continued to have been told. But here's why I think it's perfect for Kieran. Darren actually spun around and looked around with his torch one last time, looked up and saw a set of eyes looking down at him. It's difficult in itself as he's 6'1". They were the eyes of one of the prison tabby cats, who was enjoying following him down the noisy guttering that ran along the top of the walls. When he had sped up, the cat sped up. When he stopped, it took the cat a second to stop too. So there you have it. What had the makings of a perfect ghost story would have remained one if Darren hadn't investigated further. So it's not always the spooks.
Very nice.
Ain't that just like a cat though?
I know.
Definitely doing it on purpose.
Yeah, just fucking 100%. With you.
100%.
Oh, that's so funny. I was thinking Echo.
Oh yeah.
With the stopped slightly after him.
Because it was keeping time.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the Ben McDewey episode as well.
Yeah. You'd speed up, so the step would speed up as well, because your echo would match your pace. Never would have thought cat, though. That's amazing.
Just watching him.
That's one of those ones where you would... I know I would. I'd be getting more and more freaked out.
What I don't even know if I would go straight to ghost. I think the setting would make me worry, who is here that I can't see?
Yeah, especially in a prison. Mm-hmm. Who's following me?
I would be concerned.
Yes.
When it's someone that I cannot see them, I can't make them out. That would creep me out big time.
The expletives would have been many when I saw the cat.
Like a trooper.
Yep. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay, number 3. And she's given us a warning that this one is quite gruesome. Oh. So a warning to anyone who is squeamish. So thank you for the warning. We appreciate you putting that in. A number of years ago, my father was first on the scene at a very gory murder.
Oh. The
prisoners in question, Bloomfield and Ricketts, were sharing a cell. On the night of April 2nd in 2000, at exactly 10 p.m, Ricketts rang his cell bell for assistance. My father, who was working nights at the time, went to see what it was he needed. Ricketts then promptly demanded to be taken out of the room as he'd just murdered his cellmate.
Oh, God.
As is procedure, my father called for backup and they unlocked the door. What they saw next was nothing short of a scene from a horror movie. So this is the gruesome bit. It's very gruesome. So if you don't like gore, if you're not here for that, I would skip a few minutes.
Yeah.
You ready, Kieran?
I am.
I remember my father telling me, as first in the cell, that he thought Ricketts had burst the plumbing as he was walking through water. With the little light that shone in from the landing into a dark cell, it wasn't initially obvious that what he was actually wading through was blood.
Oh.
Ricketts was in the corner awaiting cuffs, was very compliant, and was soon taken out. His cellmate, however, was found lying on the bed with an opening in his chest from his sternum to below his belly button.
Oh my God.
Ricketts had originally strangled his cellmate, and after he was dead, had cut him open and removed parts of his liver, placing it all on the chair beside him. He'd not stopped there, however, taking out one of Bloomfield's eyes and placing that neatly by the liver. There was speculation that he'd used a sharpened spoon, but it's far more likely to have been a razor, which they're allowed to have. I remember my father saying the words, "There were bits of him everywhere."
Oh, that is horrendous.
So that's the end of the gory bits. If you tuned out, totally fine if you did. Yeah.
Well, that's quite something, isn't it?
Ricketts had also claimed that he had committed the murder because he had been told to, as so many others before him, by the man in white who appeared in his room.
Oh, callback.
Mm-hmm. It's no surprise that prisons are so full of stories, sightings and ghosts, some of which I'm sure could be explained by science, but many of which cannot. Hope you found some of these interesting. Personally, I find it all fascinating, especially when you hear stories of the dog handlers who used to dress the German shepherds up in white sheets and send them down the landings to scare the other staff. Ironically, though prisons are places of sorrow and negativity, they're also places of camaraderie and support. Hope you're well. Big hugs for Odin, who I'm sure is currently fast asleep.
He is indeed.
He is.
And these things can sometimes be explained by science and felines. Well, that's horrendous.
Yeah.
In my lovely, safe job where I just work in my home office, cannot even imagine having to deal with that. Just, I don't know how you could do that and then just go home for tea, or breakfast.
It's hard, I imagine.
Like, man alive.
To compartmentalise like that. Because you would have to shut it away and have it in a different part of your brain.
Yeah, surely. That's all you could do.
Because my mum and dad have been a bit like that with their jobs.
Yes.
They were both in the police. And just some of the things that they've seen, they just have to tuck it away and they can talk about it with other people who understand.
And now your sister as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Now my India, and my stepdad, they've all seen horrendous things. Yep. They're both in the fire brigade. You just have to, you can talk about it with people who understand it, but you can't really talk about it with everybody.
No. But very unusual that the man in white
told him to do it.
Oh, we've had
really creepy.
Quite a few green ladies, but we haven't had any men in white yet.
No. Interesting though that I have heard of that. I have heard of that happening in other prisons.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Mental.
Where the prisoners have said that they're told to do it by someone in the cell or tormented into doing it.
Bzzz. I just murdered someone. Could you come get me? I'm like, yes, we can. Unreal.
And being that calm suggests something's gone very wrong in his brain.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. The man in white.
The man in white.
I'm going to have to look into that more.
Yeah. Well, that is a spooky ending to our tales.
I know. Maybe we should have ended on a brighter note. I don't know.
We should have ended with Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, the ghost whisperer.
Yep. The ghost magnet.
Wee blonde baby.
Well, thank you to everyone.
Thank you so much. This has been long overdue.
Yes.
We've been really excited about doing it, but we wanted to release it at the right time.
Yeah.
And when we had enough to make an episode. And now it's a bumper episode.
It is. That's gone away from us, hasn't it?
It's all fun. It's extra for Halloween.
Well, exactly.
The people will love it.
I mean, I'm going to have a very spooky Halloween editing this up. We're definitely coming into Halloween with the right vibes.
Yeah.
The right spookiness. Should we sleep with the light on?
You're going to sleep in the dog bed tonight?
Yeah. Me and the dog are going to be cuddling. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Oh, 17 out of 17 for that story.
Obviously.
Apologies.
Obviously. Well, we hope you've enjoyed these stories.
Yes.
Getting to hear your stories read back to you. If you would like to be involved and included in our next one, then email us generallyspooky@gmail.com.
Yep, you can find that on the website. If you don't have it to hand, I'll put it in the description below the episode too.
Or if it's easier for you, you could send it to me via Instagram. That's totally fine. We hope you've had a very sufficiently spooky Halloween.
Yes. We hope you enjoyed this little bonus.
Yeah.
It's spooky season. It's in the name.
Mm-hmm.
We had to bring you a little something spooky.
Just a little treat.
Yeah.
A little spooky treat.
And thank you to everyone who sent in a story.
Yes, thank you so much. You guys made it possible.
Yes.
We will be back with the season 4 finale on Friday, but on Thursday for you lovely Patreon people. And when this comes out, this will be your last chance to get yourself some Halloween merch.
Yes.
It's only on sale until November 1st.
Yep.
So if you want to get yourself some of our jack-o'-lantern, some of our turnip merch with our logo, it needs to be now.
Today's the day.
Last chance, and then it's not going to be in the store anymore.
Yes. So head over to generallyspooky.com and check it out.
Get yourself a t-shirt.
Why not?
Get yourself a snuggly hoodie.
'Tis the season.
Get a tote bag for all of your cool things.
For all of your spooky needs.
You listen to the podcast. We know you have cool stuff. Get a cool bag.
Get a cool bag to put your awesome things in.
Yeah. Get a ghost beanie. It's getting chilly.
It's getting chilly. And we shall see you on Thursday.
Bye.
No, we won't. We'll see you on Friday.
Bye.
Bye.